Hey guys, Andy here from Mediocre Hobbies coming at you with more 3D printing goodness. I know my 3D printing videos are usually on Thursday. Unfortunately, this one got pushed back to Friday due to unforeseen circumstances that I will get into a little bit later in this intro. So the video of today is sponsored once again by Eldritch Foundry, that fantastic company that allows you to create customized characters and get them printed off and delivered straight to your front door for use in things like D&D and other things like that. I, however, am not tending to use the miniatures from their company for roleplay games. I'm using them for kind of miniature agnostic skirmish games, and I'm able to create a whole host of these beautiful characters, and that's what I'm going to do in today's video. I've been very excited by some more of the skirmish games as of late, things like Silver Bayonet, Frostgrave, Ghost Archipelago, and of course the traditional Mordheim are all game systems that I would love to try my hand at least once to see which one of those game systems grabs me the most so I can dive fully into it. So today's video was intended to be me creating a character for Mordheim using the Eldritch Foundry website. I will still be doing that, but in this video I was also supposed to paint it up and show you guys what it would look like at the end. Unfortunately, I will not be able to do that. I'm going to design two awesome characters, two witch hunters, very different witch hunters from what you've seen before, a really interesting duo. I have this idea in my head and I'm going to see whether I can pull it through and create it. The reason that I'm not going to be painting it up in today's video is unfortunately yesterday I had a bit of an accident and ended up having to get some stitches in my thumb, only 2 stitches, but the motion on my thumb for holding the miniature is a little bit weaker right now. So I decided I'm going to give my thumb a rest. And I'm not going to do any painting until Monday next week. So that should give me enough time for it to kind of knit itself back together and be okay. So unfortunately, no painting in today's video. We are going to solely focus on the design aspect of these characters and show you. So hopefully that's something that excites you guys. If it is, make sure you stick around to the end of this video. Once again, video is sponsored by Eldritch Foundry. Make sure you check them out using the description below. If they're in something that interests you, by the end of this video, I have a feeling that it will be the case. All right, guys, let's jump in. Okay, now once I dived into the Eldritch Foundry website, your mind kind of tends to develop its character as you're going along. I had a rough idea that I wanted to have at least a halfling witch hunter. I love halflings and I love witch hunters. And I came across the idea that, you know, halflings are known to be quite intelligent creatures, quite savvy, quite good at talking, getting information, being, you know, they tend to be like information dealers or thieves or pickpockets or, you know, they're fine at delving into the underworld of society and kind of finding their way. Now, why can't one of these devious minds be turned towards the forces of good, work as a witch hunter to fight against all of the evil in the world? And that's kind of where this guy started to come from. First of all, what good witch hunter doesn't have a glorious hat? So the leprechaun top hat nearly got me, and I nearly switched the whole thing to having a leprechaun warband. I'm Irish, I'm allowed to do that, but I decided not to. I found this glorious hat, and once I had that hat down, I was like, yes, this is gonna work. We're gonna have a halfling witch hunter. He's gonna be awesome. Gonna fight through his like the clothes on top, try and figure out what style we want to go for. I mean, traditionally we like the kind of top coat look, and I found this closed jacket from our top half and I thought it looked really cool, really buttoned up, really pristine. And once again, that kind of character started to develop in my head of what this guy might be. I imagined him to be quite an arrogant little shit. So he kind of swans about the place, you know, demanding things from people, making sure everyone understands that he's a witch hunter. He's in charge. He's the danger. Don't get in the way of his investigation. If you are doing something wrong, he will find it out. And although he doesn't really have a lot of power in his stature, in his size, he's still quite a dangerous figure because of the company that he keeps. And the company that he keeps is something we will get into in a couple of minutes when we're finished designing this guy. Originally, I was going to give him a crossbow, but one thing I would like these guys to do is you could be able to scale down the size of the weapons. So like the weapons are the size for humans. So once you scale the character down to a halfling, the weapons are a little bit big, which makes sense for a lot of things. But I think there should be an option to drop the weapon size down by 30% or whatever and make it fit a little bit better. So the crossbow didn't fit too well at all, but I found a torch, which is of course very witch hunter-esque. And in the short sword area, I managed to pick a decent sword. I didn't want this guy to be overcomplicated. With his paint job, you'll definitely know that he is a witch hunter. After that, of course, we have to go into his glorious pose. And of course, this is one of my favorite parts of the Alter Foundry website is after you designed your character, putting them in all the weird poses to try and see what works best and how you develop. Intelligent people may start with the pose and then work it backwards. That's not how I work. I tend to go back and forth with ideas. Every time I change something, it changes something I've done before, and I want to kind of tweak it a little bit or change it. It's all part of the kind of the process. This very arrogant stride forward definitely gripped me, and I was like, yes, this is indeed the pose I went for this guy. And because it's going to be based inside of Mordheim, I gave him a cobblestone kind of dungeon style base. I did actually change this a little bit later because I realized there is nameplates, something that I did not notice. Every time I use this website, I find something else to do. So nameplates jumped out. I mean, you will see it later on. We have a specific name for this guy. Next, we are going to go for his muscle. So like I said, the halfling he's got literally all the characteristic traits that makes a perfect witch hunter. Consider him to be the witch hunter that never misses. He always finds his man or woman, whoever he is hunting down, whoever he's been tasked to deal with, he gets it done. And like I said, he has all the tools in his arsenal except muscle. He is only a small little chap. He's not terrible in a fight, but if he's getting charged by 3 or 4 cultists, he's in a lot of trouble. And therefore, he has this fine gentleman follow him around. Now, this guy is basically an ogre. He's a half ogre, if you will. So he's a towering kind of 6'8" style human, and he is very broad and very menacing. He took way longer to design than the halfling did because, once again, I kind of had this idea of what his bodyguard would look like and how it would kind of piece together. I really did go through all the options. So much footage cut out of me picking and choosing and going back and no, yes, this doesn't work with that and that can't work with that, and I want it to look like this. And it was so much fun to do. Like, in my head, I imagined this guy kind of like Strider in the first Lord of the Rings movie is kind of sitting in the corner, not really being kind of too obvious. Hence, he's got that like hood up. He's kind of hidden himself a little bit. And then the halfling witch hunter comes in, kicks up a hornet's nest, and then this guy stands up and deals with the situation. Most of the time, all he needs to do is stand behind the halfling, and everyone in the tavern or bar kind of gulps, takes a step back, and points at the individual that they're looking for. So I did try and work out which kind of hood should work, and I realized I'm kind of trying to do that at the wrong stage of developing this character. So I went back to the drawing board and started to go through his jackets. Did I want him to have a long trench coat? Was the long trench coat going to work? Was it too fat? Was it too thick? Was it too ornate? Is this guy himself a witch hunter? Or is he just the muscle for the witch hunter halfling? It all kind of, back and forth and back and forth. I decided to just do him as his kind of associate. And I decided because this guy is the one who's going to be called forward whenever the primordial hits the fan, he's going to be carrying a little bit of armor. So the first thing I worked on was his armored shoulder pads. Keep making him even broader. Like, everything has dual meaning. The reason he has the big broad shoulder pads is to make him more intimidating looking, more terrifying looking. Like, you look at this guy and you're like, he is ready for a fight. He wants a fight, and I want nothing to do with that. Then decided to go through the kind of neck garments because I thought in my head, what do witch hunters usually hunt down? Vampires. All right, if this guy is going to get kind of toe to toe with vampires, he's gonna want something to protect his neck. So I found this awesome like gorget bit here, which kind of protects his mouth and his neck from kind of unwanted biting and all sorts of other bits. So I thought that was really cool. I didn't want to have him like crazily armored in the midriff to the legs or anything like that. I wanted him to be quite nimble, quite fast moving. He's a brawler. You know, he's just as good as with his fists as he is with weapons. And I gave him some greaves once again to defend himself. Use his arms act as weapons for him. These big tree trunks get swung around the bar quite a lot. And as you can see, I did go through kind of stage after stage after stage, trying to figure out which ones would look best. Eventually, I went for these just standard metal greaves. And it kind of creates this U going up from like one hand up around his neck and back down again of armor. And once we did this, we went back to the hoods just to see what would fit and what would work with the design that we went. And eventually, we did end up landing on a perfect hood. And then it was time to figure out what kind of weapons this guy would carry. To begin with, I decided he might have a cudgel, some sort of blunt force instrument. I didn't want him to be seen as simple though. I didn't want him to be like, he doesn't need to be given instructions. Like the witch hunter goes, you know, grunt, go kick him in the head, and he, okay, and stumbles over and does it. This guy reads the room just as well as the halfling, knows exactly where to stand, like when he needs to strike, when he needs to restrain somebody, when he needs to do that. So I decided, of course, a finely honed sword is something that would suit him down to the ground. Dual wielding popped into my head for just a moment. You know, curse me. If the website allows me to do it, it's hard not to do it. I do love when things are being dual wielded. But I decided, since how this guy is quite large, it would be useful for me to have a crossbow for him, like range attack, stakes through the heart, that kind of thing. They're all super important. So I played around with shields. Like I said, if this guy's going to be toe-to-toe, he's going to need something to defend himself. Shields would look really cool, but it's not very witch hunter. He's kind of pushing a little bit towards a paladin, and I definitely didn't want people to look at him and see paladin. I wanted them to see, you know, witch hunter warband. So that's when we did decide to kind of trick out the shield and dump it for a crossbow. I think it's a good choice for him. So I eventually landed on this. I thought it looked really cool. It was time to then trying to work for things like his back piece as well. Was he going to have a back piece? What was that going to look like? And obviously, because he is the muscle and he is the bronze, I decided when we were going through it, it was like, will we have a sword sheath on his back? Will I have a quiver on his back for his crossbow? It was all coming together. But in the end, I decided to just go for a cool adventurer's pack, like a burglar's pack. It had a crowbar on it, it has a light on it, like a lantern. It has what looks like a stake on it, some rope, all the kind of bits and pieces that a witch hunter warband may need when going into a fight. And of course, the big bruiser is going to carry it around for the witch hunter. Everything is like well maintained and well stored and well provisioned. So I think that actually suits him really, really well. And then it was time to pose him. And as I went through the poses, running was really cool. It's very, once again, very tempting thing to do. But like I said, I like the idea of him, you know, being behind the witch hunter, the halfling witch hunter, and knowing what time to strike. So I came to this one originally and I realized, oh, if I swapped the hands around, he would be in a cool firing pose for his crossbow. So that's what I did. I did switch it around and give him the firing crossbow. And I changed his sword from the kind of great sword, because he's not dual wielding it. It is a two-handed sword, so it might have been a little bit big. I did decide to swap that out for something else. For a long time, I ended on this one, and this is supposed to be like a big icicle, but I thought it would look really cool painted like wood. So he's basically wielding a giant stake. Imagine you being a vampire in a room thinking you're superior, and then this 6'8" monster walks through the door with a 4-foot stake and gives you the stink eye. You may be a vampire, you may be stronger and faster and terrifying, but you can't tell me you would look at that guy and be like, I'm not so sure about this. Like, I'm a little nervous. In the end, I went for a traditional sword. I went for a crusader style sword. Maybe this is where the witch hunter took him from, some sort of holy war. Maybe he saved the witch hunter's life and he got kind of taken into his service. Or maybe the witch hunter was just looking for hangers on and fighters for his warband. And when you see some guy that's, you know, 6'8" and 5 foot wide, you're like, that guy'll do. Gave him the same base, of course, added in the nameplate and added in his glorious name. And like I said earlier, maybe I let it slip a little bit, I have named this guy Grunt. He got the nickname affectionately from the witch hunter, as that's all he does. Every time the witch hunter asks for his opinion, or do you think this guy's lying, or who do you think's the bad guy in the room, or do you think we should break his fingers or smash his kneecap, he just grunts. It's even more intimidating when he doesn't speak. So he got the name Grunt stenciled across his base. And Warwick, of course, got stenciled across the halfling's base as well. We ended up with these two beautiful characters. So I then, of course, brought them out. I paid the €5 per miniature for the STL files. You can pay €25 and the models will be printed for you in high detail resin and shipped straight to your front door. If you have access to a printer and you want to print out multiple miniatures a month, there is a subscription service. I think it's about $15 you pay to Eldritch Foundry every month, and that allows you to print, design and print as many characters as humanly possible every single month, which is awesome. If you're getting more than 3 characters, it makes more money for you that way. Here I am removing the supports from said characters using my Haygears printer to print these guys out. And they just came out so cool. I was really, really happy with them. Really wish I didn't have a busted up thumb. I would have really liked to paint up one of these guys for today's video. But live and learn. Be careful around knives a little bit more, and these kind of things won't happen. Removing the supports a little bit more carefully from the halfling, as he's only a little guy. Obviously, I'm wearing gloves because these miniatures have not been cured just yet, so we want to make sure that they are safe. Once the models have been cured, I glue them to their bases, and we have Horwick here. As you can see, he is a dapper little fellow. He has a face that means he knows exactly what's going on. He carries his torch as he strides confidently down the dark alleyways of a secluded city like Mordheim. The only reason he stomps around so bravely because he knows that he has Grunt standing behind him, ready to defend him at a moment's notice. I went for an orcish crossbow because it has two big stakes sticking out of the front of it, which means not only if he fires the crossbow and misses or there's multiple enemies, he can still use that crossbow as a crazy bludgeoning weapon, as well as swinging his sword. I love that when they're standing beside each other, Grunt can fire his crossbow over the head of Horik without even breaking stride. I thought it was pretty cool. I also got the miniatures sprayed up just so you would see what they would look like right before painting. I like having the models ready at this stage, so when I do jump over to my Twitch stream on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I can just grab one of these miniatures and start applying paint. Let me know what you think of my first two warband members from my new Mordheim warband. Here's a quick idea of what he might look like in the setting of a Mordheim's table. I think he's going to work really well. The website also allows you to do square bases, which I should have done, of course, as I'm just too used to circle bases these days. So that was my mistake. So you do have the option, square bases for Mordheim, and continue that to some still pictures. And then, of course, some pictures of them together. This dynamic duo will live on in infamy in my future games of Mordheim. Okay guys, Horwick, the halfling witch hunter boss, or at least he considers himself to be the boss, stomping around like he owns the place, and his trusty sidekick Grunt are now ready to be painted up and placed into a game of Mordheim. I think these guys turned out fantastic. I'd love to know what you guys think. I do plan on painting them up on my streams over the next couple of weeks, so if that's something that interests you, you can join me on a Tuesday or a Thursday evening, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Irish time, where I'll be getting some paint on these miniatures. I'm very much looking forward to getting Horwick painted up as a gnarly little halfling witch hunter. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if there's any other skirmish games you think I should try and make characters for on the Eldritch Foundry website. I've got loads of other ideas, but I just want as many as humanly possible. I'm really enjoying the process, and I hope you guys are as well. If you are, make sure you give this video a like. Make sure you put your suggestions down in the comments below, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on all future uploads. Those three things are something you should do for every YouTuber content creator that you enjoy, or any YouTube content creator you enjoy. It costs you absolutely nothing, and it really does help drive their views up and up and up with likes, comments, and subscriptions. So it costs you nothing. Do it! All right, guys, thank you so much for sticking around at the end of the video. I'll see you in the next one.